didn't deserve that.
This is Gregg Vanney.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Greg, how are you? I was wondering if you could update us on Douglas Costa and his hamstring, and if you said you thought he would be full training on Monday. Has he made it to the week so far?
Yeah, he was in full training yesterday, full training today. So again, it's seeing how he reacts with each day as we get closer, and again gauging fitness levels and stuff like that, which have been pretty good. But we're seeing the progress we were hoping for. So yeah.
And Sasha Kleshin, I know he was in health and safety protocols. Is he back with the team yet?
No, I think today might be the last day that he's out, and then he might be able to rejoin us.
Do you think that there's a possibility he'd be available for this weekend?
I do, yeah. I do think so, yeah.
He also seems like somebody who would be a possible fill-in for Markey. Is he in shape to do that if you choose?
It's a logical choice. Not so easy with him not being around for the last 7, 8, 9 days. So we'll see how he's doing when he comes back. He's been symptom-free the whole time, so it's not really been that much of an issue, but I just don't know how much he's been able to really accomplish over this. So we'll see how he is, but I suspect he'll be available and be eager and anxious to be a part of it all. So.
You sort of still have options aside from him, though. I mean, Raheem, Lirdam, and to move guys all around the back line. I mean, what's sort of going through your mind as you sort of get close to the game day?
Yeah, just, again, trying to keep some continuity with the group, not try to change up too many things with too many guys, keep them in roles that they've been comfortable and confident in. Next guy up kind of scenario. And play to our strengths and play against their weaknesses and areas that we think that we can get them. But again, just not trying to overthink this, but try to find the right solutions in the right spots, and just make the adaptation and move forward.
Hey, Greg, when you were in Toronto, I don't think you guys had, you had a derby game, but nothing like this, and even when you were with the Galaxy before. How do you keep the guys from getting too geeked up, or do you like that? Do you like taking it to the nth level?
Yeah, I mean, our rivalry game in Toronto was Montreal, and I would argue it was a big one. And we had a lot of also big games as they related to playoff games, playoff series, things like that. So the one thing in games like this is you usually don't have to overly motivate guys. It's more keeping guys focused on the intentions and the execution of things. Again, understanding that a big chunk of these games sometimes is just winning the duels and little things, hustle, things like that. But it's also staying focused on the intentions of the game and what you're trying to accomplish. So for us, it's the same thing. It's in our stadium. There's going to be a lot of emotion. It'll be a lot of excitement. It's being purposeful about what we do and staying confident through all the moments, because they're going to have good moments. We're going to have good moments, and it's maintaining your attention to detail and what it is we're trying to do throughout the game.
Thanks.
Greg, I think last year without Carlos, LAFC showed they kind of are a team that likes to send the ball behind your back line. Do you see that from this iteration of LAFC? And if so, how do you prioritize managing the space?
Yeah, I do. I think, again, I think the way their team sets up, the strength of their group is in the attack. And, what I've seen from them so far is get those guys the ball as early as you can and give them the opportunity to create and do the things that they're capable of doing. And, to be fair to them, they're not a group that needs a ton of opportunities. They've made do on the opportunities they've had. And they're also very good in the press and the counter press. And so when they get the ball in front of them, it sets them up for the opportunity to counter press and keep putting pressure on you and trying to use the ball in those transition moments, which they're very good at. So, we'll see if it's different. Again, it'll be a game of slightly different maybe ideas and concepts, and it'll be who can manage sort of the balance of power through the course of the game and who can have the game in their vision and hopefully play the game in the opposition's half of the field more than in our own half of the field. So, but that'll be those are the challenges that always exist when we play LAFC. I don't think it's changed too much.
Hey Greg, what are you looking most forward to this match? You've been around the league a long time. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think it's the challenge for this group at the start of a season. It's early in the year. It's a highly emotional game. I think we've played some tough games in some tough places so far this year. Playing in Seattle, playing in Portland, playing a home opener, a club franchise opener in front of 75,000. These are tough games, playing the champion in the first game. Now we're playing LAFC, our rival, in another game. So these have been 6 real challenging games for us. This is another opportunity for us as a group to step out and to try to execute on the things that we've been working on in an emotional and challenging environment. I sense that it'll have the feel a little bit of a playoff of type game, but early in the year. So it's a good opportunity. These are games that you get to see a little bit about where you're at.
Greg, looking beyond the attack and all that with LAFC, what are the things that you see in them? What are the things that you admire about them? And the importance of Ilie Sanchez and Cifuentes.
I think they have starting with your last comment, I think they have a strong midfield with Acosta and Cifuentes, and Ilie gives them a little bit of that experience and balancer. But the other two guys have physical presence. They can run, they can compete, they defend well. They also are good on the ball. So they have a strong midfield, which I think obviously their front three, and that could be different versions of a front three. But I think, again, they're not guys who need a ton of challenges. They have a lot of quality that they can execute in one or two plays, and next thing you know, you're on the wrong side of it. That was a little bit of it for Orlando on the weekend. They had a lot of control in the game, and the next thing you know, Vela picks it up in midfield. He plays the ball in behind to Arango. He squares it across, goal. Next thing, they're back in the game right away. So they have that capacity to hurt you in limited number of chances, which is always tough teams to play against, because it doesn't matter how much control you have, you could be on the wrong side of the score instantly. And so and they have a very athletic group across the back who are not afraid to go one-on-one. They're not afraid to play a little bit high and can condense the spaces. They'll take a little bit of risk. That risk sometimes is also their vulnerability, in my opinion, but those are things that they have to gauge. But they'll play a little bit on the edge and force you to beat them, which is a sign of a team that's tough to beat.
Grepo in goal just seems to be
I saw it. I mean, I've seen and played against him a lot. I've been up in Canada, and the evolution and the growth of the goalkeeper of Grepo has been interesting to watch, and he's come a long way. I think he's solid and looks very confident back there. So that's something I think, for their team over the last handful of years, it's finding that guy that they can rely on has not been an easy thing for them. And I think they have their guy now, which adds another level of challenge, right, for us.
Greg, they have a healthy Vela, and you guys have had.
Can we get you closer to the mic?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
They've also, you guys have had a healthy top form Chicharito as well, and it would be the first time that they'll be at the same time on the field for this crosstown rivalry. So just what does it mean to have them both on the field for the rivalry and also for each team individually?
I think on a basic level, it takes the level of the game up. Right? Two players with their quality. The form that each of them have makes the game more exciting. I mean, anything can happen at any moment when you add guys of that caliber into a game like this, in addition to the emotion. It adds also, I think, just to the fan environment and with both sides having their main guy there in this game and the rivalry, I think adds a little bit to that side of it as well. So it should be exciting. We got to do our best to contain not just Vela, but contain him and the other guys with it, and we've got to do our best to give Javi his chances in front of the goal, which he's made do on for us throughout the season. We're going to keep doing that this weekend.
Greg, there's a rumor that perhaps the Galaxy are interested in a center back from Watford, William Troost-Ekong. Do you have any comment on that? Are those rumors true?
No comment. I know the player, but that's about the extent of the situation.
Outside of that, is center back a place that you're looking to reinforce?
Not really a priority in the moment. I think our guys, we have a number of center backs. We have Zavaleta, who we haven't even gotten into the mix yet, who we've been integrating into the group. So I don't think it's a priority at this moment. I think you saw one of the things as our priority. If we lose one midfielder right now, we start to get a little bit thinner, especially in that defensive midfield role. And obviously with Jorge not involved right now with his recovery, we're a little thin in the left back position. So these are some areas that also we're trying to make sure that we're covered in and we have solutions for as the season continues to progress. But center back isn't the main priority in the short term.
Greg, one more question about LAFC. Are they playing differently this year? It seems like they're not pushing the outside backs forward. They're playing more direct. They're not as wide under Cherundolo as they were under Bob. Is that all accurate, or?
What I've seen from them just in the games that I've watched them, I don't think they're as aggressive as they were with Bob. And by that, I think, kind of to your point, I don't think fullbacks are as aggressive trying to press out of the back line and get to the opposition's fullbacks, which was a staple of what they did in the past, which left them very vulnerable sometimes in the back for jailbreaks, if you will. So I think they've been in the press, but they've been a little more calculated. They've pressed from inside out instead of from the back line towards the front line. which has left them to be maybe a little bit more stable. At times they're not quite as high. Like we saw in Orlando, they were a little bit deeper and keeping their density a little bit tighter. So things like that. But I think their objective is to try to get the ball forward, get it to their attacking players. I don't think they put a lot of emphasis on their center backs making the game and having to hit crazy passes through the midfield and stuff. I think they want to get the guys that make plays as quickly as they can, whether that's direct or in transition. It's getting it to them quickly and letting them do their thing.
They seem a little more compact. They used to be sideline to sideline, and they're not quite that wide.
Yeah, I think that's the trait of a team that wants to play in transition, that is a counter-pressing team. They really create, again, density in the midfield. They want to turn you over in the midfield, and then they want to try to get you in the transition. So the more space you open up, the more space the opposition has to play between you, and again, that makes it easier on us. So they really try to do a good job of creating density, like I say, through the middle of the field to turn you over so that they can use that in the transition.
Greg, I have two rivalry questions for you. When you came back to the Galaxy after playing in France, Chivas USA was in the league, and it was at a time when Chivas USA was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how that rivalry at that time compares with this one, and also just the rivalry with San Jose, which you experienced beginning of your Galaxy career and when you came back.
Yeah, I would say, as it relates to the Chivas rivalry, I don't know that it ever really got to the level of this rivalry. I would say my experience with Chivas and whatever it was, Chivas always felt a little bit like the little brother of the Galaxy, renting its stadium, having a small field over there to deal with, little things like that. It never really felt like the two clubs got on par with each other, where there was some competition, year to year. So this one with LAFC coming in, they built a huge fan base right off the bat. They have a fantastic season where they run the league and set the mark. And the Galaxy, not having a great last handful of years or so, trying to find its level again, has immediately put the competition on a different level than where that one was at the time. The quality of players that are there, a lot of things, the evolution of the league. There's a lot of things that I think have contributed to this rivalry hitting just a different level than I felt like that one hit in my experiences. As it relates to San Jose, I think the one thing that San Jose and Galaxy had going for it, and that still is continuing to build in this rivalry, is when you play each other in really big games. It's knockout games, it's playoff games, it's Western Conference Finals, it's things like that where there's real, there's championships on the line, or those kinds of things create another level of rivalry. So I think there's been one playoff game between these two teams. Is that correct? Yeah. So it's more of those moments where loser goes home, where there's really a different level of emotion that comes into that, because somebody at the end of the day walks away with nothing. And the more you have those types of things, like in Toronto, it was the Canadian Championship between those two teams, it was the MLS playoffs. The more you have those high emotional games, the more the rivalry continues to build on itself, and those are coming between these franchises, there's no question.
When you were in Toronto, was Vancouver a rival in any way? And did the rivalry with Columbus matter?
Again, to start at the rivalry with Columbus became much less important as the other Canadian clubs came into it. Vancouver being in the Western Conference and being, also farther away and more friendly in some ways, it was less, but obviously some good games in Canadian championships. The first title we won there with myself was a Canadian championship that we won in Vancouver in the final seconds of the game, that was created kind of got the rhythm of our group going in terms of competing for championships. But you could never really, that rivalry was never going to be the same as Montreal-Toronto, because there's a political history there. There's a whole lot of language differences. There's a proximity, Eastern Conference. There's a lot of other underlying sort of factors that go to the emotion of that game within the fan bases, but also the player groups. So, different.
Anything else?
I keep moving away.
Greg.
I know.
I was going to say, where are you going, brother?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.